Hi, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been some time that I've put my face on YouTube, but luckily for me, I'm putting my face on YouTube because I did not come alone. There's my good friend with me, and there's a lot of things to learn if you continue to watch this video. Dr. Ifeoluwa Olubiyi, my namesake,
Exactly.
we have known, and she's also a YouTuber, and I've known her for I don't know how many years now, but yes, it's more than a decade of having known each other. So definitely is a time to hear some sharing. Today we're here for one of the UN International Days, and it's the International Day on Education. But before we go into all of the questions, one of the first things I want to ask her, because she's one of the people who are my mentors in education.
That's not true.
Ife, surprisingly, so Ife is an associate professor. We're both associate professors now. But if we were in Ife together, if I was in the yard behind me, but now if is my Oga, if is
Who is
my
your
no,
guy?
sorry, okay, sorry, no, but if is like one of those top people that I look at,
Thank
expert in intellectual
you.
property law, and she's doing really well. But with this YouTube and business thing, I think I need to come and learn small from her. Welcome, Professor Ifeoluwa
Thank you very
Olubiyi.
much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much. She used to
Thank
be
you for
Ife
having
Jemi
me.
Lugba
Yes,
in
if I gem.
the Ife Gem in those days
OAU
of
days.
OAU.
Yeah.
Ife, I'm going to be asking a few questions, but the first one I want to ask is, what are tips for students who are writing exams? So today is International Day of Education, but any student who is watching, the first thing they want to know is, I want to pass the exam. So maybe we should first go there so that at least people can hear tips on how to pass exams. If you now know how to pass exams, you cannot decide whether you want to watch the rest of the video
Or
or
not.
not. But
Yeah.
from Professor Olubiyi, what are the tips to passing examinations? Any ideas first?
All right. So I think that passing an exam does not start
Hmm.
in a week to the exam
Oh,
or
okay.
close to the exam.
Yeah, because I know people are writing exams now. There's somebody who's watching this video now who's writing an exam, and they're thinking, the reason I'm clicking on this video is I just want to know what I'm going to. So they say something inside this exam. Yeah, but you are right. I mean, it doesn't
Okay,
start from. Yeah,
so
correct.
I
Yeah.
think you ought to have started earlier, with your lectures, with reading early.
Yeah.
But let's talk to those who are writing exams now.
Okay.
So the first thing is obey instructions, because we see students that they set questions for themselves. Like the instruction is do this. You've made up your mind. This is what you want to do.
Oh my
So look at the instructions that the
Hmm.
examination says.
Yeah.
Obey it. Also time management. Sometimes you know it,
Yeah, but you're
but
not
you're
able
just
to.
not able to manage your time. So, for instance, here in school, here you're expected to use 45 minutes in
Yeah.
for a
For a
question.
question, I mean,
So why would you
wisely.
use 1 hour or 1.5 hours on
Other
one
questions are likely
question,
going to suffer for it.
and they are all equal marks?
Yeah.
So you need to learn how to manage your time, write legibly as much as possible,
True that.
and be healthy. At the end of the day, if you break down from trying to push yourself too much,
Yeah.
you will not be healthy enough to write that examination.
So you make healthy decisions towards the exam,
Yes,
sleep
so that
time,
you
managing
can
your schedules.
and eat well, rest well. It's not the time to say you're not going to sleep, like, carry over every single night.
The funny thing is, I did tax some years ago, and that was the only exam I did not sleep before going into. And in the exam, I just blanked out.
Yes, you will, because your memory will be
My goodness, it was my final exam in uni, and I thought that my village people had come for me. But no, it was not the village people.
So basically, and I think that one of the things also is use past questions. I tell students that a lot. There's nothing new on that.
This question thing is all over the world. You find Q&As for most courses in topics all over the world.
Yeah.
Even when people are writing professional exams, having experience of IELTS, having to write PLAB, having past questions that people have used before, just makes it. And then one of the things I noticed, I spoke with somebody today about was, have you practiced past questions? The person told me, oh, I have seen past questions. Okay. So I said,
see, different from practicing.
Yeah, the ability to be able to say, in exam conditions, this is the question, this is me trying to put it down. And then sometimes showing somebody who knows a little bit more than you to say, if this was how I wrote it, what would I have actually scored? And then somebody can look at it and as an assessor and then say,
that's very true.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I think that you're giving like really tight ones. I hope that those who are watching, if you are somebody who needs help with time management and all that, there's people who do coaching, and I know that Professor Olubiyi has a lot of ideas on, and she also has short courses and training programs where you can be a part of to learn how, some of those things. But yeah, today is International Day of Education, and the theme is education or learning for lasting peace. And the question we have had is, in many parts of the world, there's war. there's crisis, and even in our own country, the problem is, are we going to be combining learning in a time of crisis? In a village, maybe in Plateau State or in Borno State or in even some of the states in some of the parts of Nigeria or in parts of Africa, there's crisis. So how do we juxtapose education or learning and peace?
All right, so I'd say that learning helps to open your mind. So when you are educated, you get to open your mind, you get to interact with people, you get to see things from other people's perspective.
Yeah, right.
So you get to think beyond the prejudices that has been passed, across to you about a group of people, about a tribe, about a situation, right? So I think that education is very important if we are going to achieve peace. Then you talked about those probably in war-torn zones.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that is where technology comes in.
True.
So you try to maximize technology as much as possible. Sometimes the teachers cannot go there.
Yeah.
Or the students cannot come out, or they can't just congregate together.
Yeah.
So if technology is available, I think online education or doing things virtually is going to be a very great option.
Okay, that will take me to my next question, which is on whether or not education has a future. What's the future of education in Nigeria? I mean, sincerely, I am worried. I'm a teacher. Yeah. As a professor of law, it sounds really nice and bogus, but I must let you know, I walk into different universities across the world, and every time I walk into one in Nigeria or in some parts of Africa, I ask, what is the future of education in Nigeria?
All right, so I think the future of education is Nigeria.
I mean, you and I have had privilege of studying in other parts of the world.
True.
I mean, you study in some parts of Europe, and so you understand, and you've also studied in some universities in Nigeria. Yeah. And so you have an answer.
Okay, so I'll say that I think we are coming to realize it's not about the certificates. It's more about skills. It's more about how you're able to deploy your knowledge to solve problems. Yes. So, and I think that even students are coming to realize that they need to think beyond just their degree to acquire other necessary, education or learning. So for me, I think that learning outside the four walls of the university, acquiring skills, digital knowledge, just training beyond from the four walls lecturers like ourselves. You have coaches, in various parts of the industry where I think that even students are beginning to realize that they need that, not just your certificates.
Oh, okay. So we're looking at a time when students will begin to look at skills and becoming like different from their certificate or much more than their certificate. So they will have certificates, but the employability and the career requirements will be much more than just the certificate. And that leads me to my next question on this education thing. Will schools exist as they are in the next 50 years? And there are people who went to school and then say, me, I went to Ife in 76 or in 87 or in the 92, I went to UI. Will there be these schools, educational structures like this in 50 years?
I don't think so. I mean,
so when I told you this, last year we had on International Day of Education, I interviewed Professor Hilary, Dr. Hilary Okegwale, and that was one of the questions I asked him. And I said, I'm worried that we will not have this type of school. We may not have four. I mean, the distant learning, online learning may take over. But some people are still thinking that it may not, that 50 years is still pretty close and that we will still have this type of education.
Well, I think that it's still going to be hybrid.
Okay.
But it's not going to be, for instance, in Europe, your universities are not this big.
True that.
They're not about they're not about being in one anymore. Compound. Yes. True. So a lot of people are going online. If you look at even universities abroad, they are coming to Africa because of our population, to get students, thinking of having online education, and all those kind of things. So I really think that it's not going to be this model. Definitely. It's not going to be.
We'll look at how the new models that education will take. But definitely distant learning, definitely online learning. I mean, distant learning had always been there. Distant learning is as old as 100 years or more. 200 years. I know that people used to write exams, Bible school, send it by correspondence and all those kind of things. I mean, and we're getting back there, but this time around by maybe emails and all those kind of stuff. So yes, we're moving forward with education, and I do hope that we can latch on to it as a country, as a continent, and that our people will be able to use the world as a global village to learn. One of my favorite questions ever, especially when I meet young academics. And sincerely, this is a question that worries me.
Okay.
Is school a scam?
No, it's a
no, sincerely. No. So yesterday.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yesterday, Ife, I asked somebody, and I said, you are a lecturer. You have students. If you had a poll that was supposed to have people voting, how many students do you think want to be like you?
Okay, so that's because again perception, right,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
perspectives.
yeah.
So
Is school a scam?
no, it
No,
is
it's
not.
not. Okay, so
Yes.
tell us,
The
tell us.
reason why is because our concept of education is
Yeah,
that, oh, I'm studying law.
yeah.
I must become a lawyer. I must
I'm
go to
only lost, so
court.
I'll be rich, I'll have money, I'll have a
So
car, I'll
yeah.
have a house. Then I see a lawyer on Okada with his wig and down like this, and then I'm telling myself, this
But you've
movie.
not seen the lawyers with the big
When you
houses,
say the
right?
world with the big house,
So
then you're not trying to do the draft of the maths
exactly.
of
So
how
what's the
many people,
difference?
what's the number,
Yes.
maybe not the difference. It's oftentimes, so the guy who is not going to school, who lives on your street, is the one who is house has lights, he has cameras, is one who is paying in the estate, and then there's another guy who is a very educated guy that they've not paid him salary for 6 months or 3 months, and so the guys who you are encouraging to study are asking you and saying, school? Did you just say school?
Yeah. So let me tell you something. When I didn't read it everything, but that book, why the A students, work for the C students and the B students, that's one of the things that just showed me that, okay, even if you have a first class, it doesn't mean you will have money or the best of life.
Okay.
So education, you must know how to translate that knowledge to monetization.
Okay.
You must know the right skills.
Impact.
Yes, so the right impact. And that the fact that I went to school, I studied, does not mean automatically money will fall on my laps. Okay. You must know that that education is to broaden your mind, to have a problem solving, attitude.
But you know what Gen Z is going to ask you? Who problem solving help? Who broaden your mind?
No, apart from Yahoo and all those stuff. If you're going to tell that part, unless that, but honestly,
those are some of the things that we're competing with.
Yes,
we're competing with fraud. We're competing with people making decisions about their lives on the spot. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with music. There's a lot of things going on with TikToker. Everybody says, "Well, what's your career path? What's your job?" I say, I'm a TikToker.
A content creator.
What's your job? And so the person says, so you are in school, you're going to spend 5 years studying law, or 6 years studying pharmacy, or 5 years studying engineering, and then somebody is on TikTok, drop me lion. You know how much? On TikTok now, one lion is $400 or thereabouts. Really? So if I say, they get 10 lion, 5 lion, that person has probably made your annual salary. So he's asking himself, why do I want to wear suits, jackets, and all that, and go to work and sign in and clock in, come on my computer, draft this or submit that, attend meetings? Why would I want to do that?
But you know that TikToker, unless sometimes where there's serendipity, they work hard as well. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
No. So the question would be about school. I don't think that the problem they have is with hard work.
So I would say that, again, Nigerians, we focus too much on certificates. Like, because I've already come out of school and this, I deserve this. So you need to find out, what do you need to do? What can you use that knowledge you gained in school to do? To just earn and leverage of where you want to be. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So school is
not a scam?
It's not a scam. I'll never
say it's
a scam. Why am I a lecturer?
No. You don't have a real choice anymore. You've already gone to school. But if you probably did not go to school, and you earned an opportunity to earn what you were still earning, doing something that you love to do, would you have needed school? I mean, if I probably
the funny thing
if I was able to sit in front of a computer now, and then they asked me, and I was getting lion, and they asked me to convert my certificate and give it back to them, and they'll be giving me lion. I mean, will I give them my certificate? Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, I'm only saying that, especially with encouraging young people. Parents are finding it really hard to tell them dignity of labor, education, patience, delayed gratification. These things have become more difficult to pass across.
Yes.
Because especially with lives, you need to show examples. They want to see who do you want me to be like?
I understand you. From experience, because I'm a postgraduate coordinator, right?
Yeah.
From experience and what I've seen with a lot of people, even when they get to that celebrity status, they want to have some kind of education. So you see some of them, whether they travel out or they do some online education, to go back to school, to get certain education. There are some levels, there are some places you may not be able to access if you're not well educated. So you see that sometimes they come back for online trainings, postgraduate courses, diploma courses, just to show that, okay, I am certified as well in this thing. It's not just by chance. So, and you see parents that are not well educated, even though they have the money, they feel like fear of missing out. They feel like they are missing out or something. So they usually encourage their children or those around them.
But they still end up mocking those children and say, in spite of all the book where you read, in spite of all this education, and still the one giving you money. So we have people who have studied, their parents send them to do degrees, masters, some PhDs, and their parents who didn't go to school are sending them stipends.
I understand. It's also, though that's also a larger society problem in which it's like our values. The money is not necessarily flowing. So, the right values. It's a societal problem. It's not just in Nigeria, it's abroad.
I mean, you find people who have had honest work, they don't have much. And then you find one person who just gets a contract to sell pencils. And then, boom, guy blows.
But maybe it's also something about money. If you're a value person, money does not equal value.
True, huh?
So unless, of course, we need money to, live our daily life and everything. But you have to realize that hard truth. That the fact that the highest money goes to somebody does not necessarily, is not a fair or just reward system in the world. It doesn't mean that money will go to the people with the highest value. So at the end of the day, you just define what is important to me, what is my value, what is my definition of success. And you go with
that's important. What is my own definition of success? And that question is important. You should answer that question in your own heart. And I think that when you answer that question, they have some level of relief. Like you have some calm. Immediately you'll be able to tell yourself, what is success to me? And for each person, it will be very different. And I do hope that this generation is able to define what success is to them outside of the big cars, big houses, and fancy dresses. I hope to have all those fine things. But yeah, in addition to them, I also hope to have impact. Last question on this bit. What is your biggest challenge in education? When people see teachers or professionals or something, and they look at you and then they think, oh, there's some guys who do skits about, I think it's a medical guy from one of the schools, and then he will say, his lecturers will say things like, during our time was not like this, all of us are serious, I don't know what education has turned into. So, I mean, they think that we never had challenges.
Yeah, like you were just a smooth ride.
Smooth ride. So for you, was there any time when you had a challenge as either a student or as a teacher with education? I mean, because it's important for these people to also know that sometimes we also had to find our way through the maze. Any experience?
All right. For me, I think it was in being sure of my decision. So I am a kind of person that I was really good in almost all my subjects. My mom was begging me to go and study medicine, but my grandfather actually said, "Oh, you talk a lot. You must be a lawyer."
And that thing that they used to deceive people into the law thing.
Honestly,
it wasn't fair. That's not a good reason to study law. If you talk a lot, go to the radio station or TV station or something.
So I was very good in my science courses. I was really good in social sciences, of course. And law at the time, they will tell you can't get 100, you can't get it. So in terms of grades, my art courses were my poorest.
Wow.
But because since I was small, my grandfather had said you're going to be a lawyer. I felt that's my destiny. So I kept going. Even when my mom was begging, I was just sure that this is my path. Until I entered 100 level in OU and I started wondering, what am I doing here?
Yes, right.
So what am I doing here? When I did my 100 level, my economics, I had good grades. And I'm in law and they're telling me you can't get this, you can't get that. And it was almost, I was struggling. So I still tell my mom that if I have to relocate abroad, I'm going to nursing or something. I'm leaving. I'm leaving this.
No, but she's a nurse. I mean, she's professor of nursing. In another few, I mean, by God's grace, the professor of law now. Then professor. Then you can now start the nursing. You have a mother who's a nurse. You are the wife of a professor. So you can now merge. You'll be professor of law and nursing. I know a few guys who have studied medicine and have studied law. There's one of Professor Larry Dozen, who is in University of Medical Sciences and who has a degree in law and then also in medicine. So you can also...
So for me, it was just being confident that I made the right choice.
At what point did you feel that this is it for me?
I think that even after graduation, I kept wondering, what am I doing here? But I think that one of my biggest lessons in life is whatever you're fine doing, just do it well.
Yeah. So
I was just like, okay, if I'm here, I need to maximize.
That's right.
And law is traverses various disciplines.
That's right.
So one of the reasons why I love my intellectual property.
Yes, I wanted to say, how do you now finally choose intellectual property law? Because now you are an expert, you have a book on intellectual property law, you are writing academic papers in intellectual property law.
It's something that goes
Ifeolubiyi, intellectual property, yeah.
So for me, with intellectual property law, I can still have my hands a bit on tech, a bit on health.
I'm in that tech
a bit
and then in health,
so a bit of all these things. So I'm not just restricted to art. So for me, that was like
and now a bit of AI,
and a bit of AI, something. So that's why. So maybe when I'm moving towards tech and all that, it's been there, So, but like I said, if maybe I found a system where in 2-3 years I would get maybe a science-based degree or something, I think I'll
after your professorship now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? So you are almost a professor of law in a while, and then you don't want to go and start another.
Maybe
these are the people for the international of education. This is the real reason for which they start education. Professor of law, then you don't want to go and start another science degree.
I really
I don't know if I know that people are really interested. This is Professor Ifeolubiyi. If you catch her in your class studying medicine, she's a professor of law already or nursing. Thank you so much for your time. It was really fun.
Very much.
I hope that we get to talk again and again. And yes, please follow Ifeolubiyi and then subscribe to our YouTube channel. She has some learning things, and she also speaks with people who have had experiences in education, especially those who have had interesting stories, number of years in uni, challenges through school, and then I'll be collaborating with her on this particular video. So you can just go to our YouTube channel or follow her on social media as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was really nice being
here. It's so nice. I mean, we should do this once again. But I don't know whether it will be education. Maybe something that is not. Else. Because you look like in education, you are the. No, I give down to you people. Allow me to move on to something else. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for watching. It's been nice catching up.
Thank you.